Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm For Classic and welcome to BenchART. So today what I do have needed is Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So the black stands for the remasterization of the original, which was precisely released 15 years ago. And Koei Tecmo decided to, okay, let's make a remaster for this game while using Unreal Engine 5 visuals. So the game's minimal settings, it is, the minimum requirements, it's the GTX 1060 with 6 GB of VRAM. We do have in here my 1650 Super, which is slightly more powerful than the 1060 and more updated in feature set, although I just have 4 GB of VRAM. These 4 GB of VRAM is causing major issues in the game, especially when I'm recording, like I'm doing at the moment. But let me just show you the settings. So I'm playing at 1080p. You can only play until 60 frames per second. The maximum frame rate is 60. I'm using TSR with 50% of resolution scaling, so basically I'm playing at 440p upscale to 1080p while using TSR. I believe this is what Xbox Series S does with its resolution. And I'm using the lowest settings. I'm just keeping the post-processing effects because it gives style to the game. But performance is, as you can see, awful, right? Without recording, this is not an issue, and this is because of VRAM. Alright, without recording, I was just simply getting 60 frames per second, but since I'm recording and I don't have enough VRAM to spare, I'm just having issues in here. Sometimes this goes away, alright. I'm not saying that I don't get these issues without recording. For example, in the introduction cutscene, I had that frame rate without recording during like 10 to 20 seconds. Although, while recording, it seems that the GPU takes more time to buffer the VRAM it needs. So as you can see, I'm now having 60 while recording, and I haven't changed anything. The scene just changed, and probably this, the VRAM, the GPU needed to reallocate some assets, some textures, and it have done in a proper way. So now the 4 GB of VRAM, it is enough to provide a decent experience, while at the beginning of the game it wasn't really working for us. So I'm not saying that the game it is unplayable on the 1650 Super. It's just there is too many levels that I probably won't have enough feedback to provide you, because I'm just playing the introduction level, and this introduction level it does play fine. Alright, it does play at 60 frames per second. The VRAM is entirely full, but the game still it is still providing 60 frames per second. Although I'm not really sure about the other levels at the front. In more forward into the game, I'm not sure if those levels require more VRAM, and you will probably be stuck with 20 frames per second or 10 frames per second or 5 frames per second because you don't have enough VRAM. But apart from that, this first level it does run pretty well. 50% of resolution scaling seems a lot. I don't think you really need 50%. I'm just using 50% because the lower value that I do use, the lower VRAM the game will use. So these issues happen less often if I use lower resolution scaling. But yeah, I'm just upscaling from 540p anyway. GPU usage to get this 60 frames per second ranges mostly in between 50 to 80%. It's only when explosions kicks in or when you do some special effect kill or something that the GPU goes up to 90 to 95%. So the game never drops below 60 when there isn't VRAM issues. So it's perfectly playable, perfectly stable at 60 frames per second, unless again those VRAM issues do happen. Alright, so it's hard to recommend. Alright, I'm seeing a lot of work being done in here by Koei Tecmo. They had to import the game that they had to Unreal Engine 5. They did need to change the textures, the assets, rebuild everything from scratch. The game is the same. Alright, it's exactly the same game, but visually they really needed to change a lot of stuff for this to work. Also, additionally, they offered now more playable characters on this remastered version, and you have a new difficulty mode which automatically adjusts us in more challenging situations. I'm not really sure what they do mean by this, but I'm assuming that if you are struggling to complete certain parts of the game, let me tell you that this game can be really hard. This is kind of a Dark Souls ninja game. When it gets really hard, probably the game will recognize that you are dying way too much, and it does adjust the difficulty. But that it's a new game mode, so you're not really forced to use that game mode. You can play the original modes with their difficulty, different levels of difficulty. Alright, so you have the 3 difficulties. I'm playing in here with the normal difficulty, which is the lowest one of the classic ones. And, well, it's essentially that. So with this, I will let you enjoy a little bit of gameplay. But again, if you will buy this game, buy it carefully. Buy it, or at least buy it with the expectation that things can go really wrong in some levels because of the VRAM. Alright, so guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I will try to do a live stream to show a little bit more about the gameplay. And I also intend to test on Linux, just to see if the VRAM is working better in there, because Linux does require less VRAM and RAM to operate, but still the compatibility layers, they are not really yet very good, so it might even run worse or not run at all. So if you see a video about Linux in the future comparing Windows with Linux, probably it's because it is running on Linux. Alright, so guys, that's all. Thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.